Sonos is one of those aspirational speaker companies. It's got a great reputation for making killer speakers, but in my experience, it also has a reputation for a glitchy setup process. So does the new Sonos Era 300 blast away its past troubles and conquer the world like Taylor Swift's World Tour? In this hands-on review in my home, I'll test out the brand new Sonos Era 300 speaker. I'll listen to the sound quality and report back, take you through my experience with the setup, and then check out the special premium features that might make this the speaker to get. I'll wrap things up with the pros and the cons and let you know if I think this speaker is the one for you. The Sonos Era 300 is in a nutshell a wireless dual Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connected speaker which sports a unique squoval design, which Sonos refers to as the cinched hourglass. It is a large and heavy speaker, so chances are you're going to leave it where you end up placing it. Since you're not buying it for the looks, let's get to the meat. Under the housing here are 6 drivers, including a quartet of tweeters and a pair of woofers. It should integrate with any existing Sonos system you already have. I currently have the Sonos Beam 2nd generation soundbar, so we'll be integrating it into that during my setup. Also during my testing, I received the Sonos Move 2 for consideration. The key features that'll make you look to this particular speaker are the addition of spatial audio and that it's humidity resistant, which makes it great for kitchens and bathrooms. You can also add a second Era 300 and create a 3D Dolby Atmos surround sound system if you also add a Sonos Beam or an Arc soundbar. Now, since I only have the single Sonos Era 300 here, I couldn't actually test this out. The speaker can be controlled using the Sonos app, using the touch controls on the device, or by adding Sonos Own or Amazon Alexa voice control. Or you can also adjust your music on your phone or mobile device. Let's segue for a second and touch on what spatial audio is and why you might want it. Spatial audio is a sound technology where a single device simulates a fuller, more surround sound environment. The surround sound effect creates kind of an illusion where you think the sound is coming from different directions or different places in your room or in your space, or elsewhere around your head if you're wearing headphones, even though it's only coming from a single speaker. I've been unlucky enough to have constant trouble setting up pretty much any and every Sonos speaker I've ever tried. At various points I've wondered, is it me? For that reason, I Googled problems setting up Sonos speaker, and based on the multitude of responses, answers, and how-to videos out there, this isn't a me problem. While Sonos does market its devices as bewilderingly easy to set up, it's been my experience they are simply bewildering sometimes. I won't go into detail here since I've covered this off in other recent reviews. I can just say it's taken me hours and multiple attempts at connectivity to get all my Sonos speakers set up on my home networks. Now, fortunately, if you do need more muscle, Sonos customer service is actually pretty good. I've found that when trying to set up multiple Sonos speakers, switching among them if one of them won't connect somehow seems to jumpstart the setup process. So too does throwing in the towel after a couple hours and trying again on another day. The Sonos app seems only randomly effective in my experience with it, so keep that in mind if you're also experiencing frustration with the setup process. It took me about an hour to get the speaker connected to my home, possibly in part because I was also setting up a brand new Sonos Move 2, and I already have the Sonos Beam connected to my Samsung Frame TV. By the way, you can check out the Move 2 or Beam and Arc reviews, as well as the Frame TV right here on the channel. If there's one thing almost no one can complain about on a Sonos speaker, it's sound quality. Almost universally and without exception, any Sonos speaker I've tried reigns supreme in the audio quality kingdom. Sonos speakers are finely tuned and delicately balanced, and listening to everything from radio to podcasts, music, and more sounds outstanding. You can definitely get a lot more detail from these speakers than you can from something like a cheap portable Bluetooth speaker. I listen to all types of music, from jazz to pop, alternative to bossa nova, as well as newscasts and podcasts too. No matter what you're listening to, it's going to sound absolutely fantastic on a Sonos speaker. They are very well balanced and don't lean too much towards the high or the low ends. The bass is resonant, not bumpy, and the high end gets rid of all tinniness. In short, Sonos speakers' sound quality is worth the money and then some. Now, how does the spatial audio sound on a Sonos speaker? Spatial audio as a thing is great as long as you have what it takes to make it work, and most of us average listeners probably don't. That's because you actually need a couple of things, not just an Era 300 speaker. Now, to get music in spatial audio, you'll need to be connected to Wi-Fi and streaming Dolby Atmos music from a supported service. To enjoy movies, shows, or games with spatial audio, you'll need to have two Era 300 speakers paired with either a Sonos Arc or a Sonos Beam Gen 2, and you'll also need a supported TV, an HDMI eARC connection, and a dedicated made in Dolby Atmos piece of content. Now, because I only have the one single speaker here, I was only able to check out the spatial audio music. That was more than enough for me to make a judgment, however, and I fined for the plaintiff. Spatial audio on Sonos Era 300 sounds great. It's totally possible to listen to a track and hear the voice seemingly coming from one part of the room while a guitar wails from another nearby space. You definitely get different effects depending on the tunes, so check out one of Apple Music's spatial audio playlists to see what you're missing. I really wish I could replicate this experience a little better for you, but in this case, you're just going to have to take my word that it's worth it. Thanks to the built-in microphone, you can use the Sonos Era 300 as a smart speaker as well, and it works with Amazon Alexa, but not the Google Assistant.
Jazz Station from Use Apple Music. Playing on Sonos.
The microphone also serves as a tool to calibrate the speaker through a Sonos technology called TruePlay. This feature takes your room's characteristics like the walls and the furniture into consideration for maximizing sound quality. I've enabled TruePlay on a handful of Sonos speakers in various spaces, but haven't noticed a major difference. Perhaps my ears are not as finely tuned as others out there, so if you find the TruePlay really creates a difference for you, I'd love to hear from you. During my testing, I was able to use the Sonos Era 300 as part of a multi-room audio system. I had the Sonos Beam soundbar in the living room, the second generation version, and the Sonos Move 2, as well as the Era 300 in my living room dining room. This grouping easily filled the entire space with sound and created a cocoon of well-balanced audio. That is the beauty of Sonos. You get a reliable, seamless experience you can tune into all over the house or split up each speaker and use them individually. Overall, Sonos Era 300 impresses. On the pro side, the sound quality is killer and there's nothing to crack on here. The spatial audio effects are truly noticeable and the technology works really well on the Era 300 here. The touch controls on top are great and the speaker looks kind of cool too. So what are the cons? Well, this speaker is rather large and it's heavy, but since you're not going to be toting it around, this shouldn't really be an issue. The biggest downside to this speaker is the glitchy setup process, which I've experienced. While it is possible to work through it, it can be a frustrating introduction to the Sonos world if you're not prepared for it. That aside, I think the sound quality and the premium features more than makes up for the small initial hour or two of frustration during setup. For that reason, I can totally recommend the Sonos Era 300 to you, either on its own or as part of a home theater or multi-room audio setup. Sonos Era 300 sells for about $449 US or $559 Canadian, and you can get one from Amazon or from Best Buy. If you want to see more of my Sonos reviews, check out these other things that I've reviewed right now.